Welcome to the Downtown Perspective. I'm your host, Adrienne Nesbitt. Join us every week as we explore topics surrounding and involving the Downtown Goshen community. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today we have Dustin Sailor as Goshen's Director of Public Works. Hi, Dustin. Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Hi.
I am so excited to have you on today. As someone who lives downtown, this is especially relevant to me, but I know to a lot of our business owners downtown, as well as our shoppers and eaters and drinkers. People are getting excited. The downtown is reopening with a new design. Can you tell us a little bit about how long the conceptualizing of this new downtown has been in the works?
Yeah, the downtown has been being rethought of for many years. I've been with the city almost 16 years in July, and this process started well before I started at the city. It really went back, I don't have an exact date, but when we go back in about 2002, they were working on the redirection of traffic around downtown for the 3rd Street project. And that's, I think it's been thought of way before then, but that really was the initiation point for kind of developing that vision for downtown and making it more pedestrian friendly.
And as you guys began to really see that this was going to happen, can you tell me a little bit about how design plans got finalized and what that process was like?
Sure. We began with the quite a few meetings with the different groups, Downtown Goshen Inc., DGI. We had some focus meetings with interested parties for the downtown. So our job number on this project dates back into 2016, and that's really we started looking at how maybe we might fund a downtown improvement. Estimates were put together, and some of the early estimates were $1 to $1.2 million per block, which when we're dealing with 5 blocks, we're talking, $6-7 million in a project. And, we were going through, or coming out of the recession that we had, and we knew that that project scale was not big enough. And so we were trying to find a point where we could come up with a project that we could afford and identify who would be the group that would help us fund that, because just relying on civil city funds by themselves, we knew we didn't even have enough money to cover those costs.
For those of members of the community who aren't downtown or don't come down as frequently, can you tell just sort of a rough general idea of what the new downtown will look like?
Sure. So kind of looking back to what it was just a few months ago, we had quite a few sidewalks that were raised up. Back in 09, 08, we had gone down and the trees had lifted the sidewalks up and we had ground them down. And through the years between then and now, the trees had pushed them up again. So we've gone through and replaced a lot of sidewalks. So it's a little bit patchwork now, but at the same time, it's a safe sidewalk to travel down. And then we put a new pavement in. So the road was previously maintained by NDOT for many years. And the road had deteriorated pretty badly. There was at least 2 pavement sections in there. So we milled that down roughly 5 inches and brought that up with a new pavement section. And we put a geogrid in there that will help extend the life of that pavement. So we have a brand new pavement section downtown. We have modified and adjusted curb. And I think the big thing with the downtown right now is that we are focused on more pedestrian friendly, and so there's angled parking associated with the new downtown, and what that has made allowances for is we've added mid-block crossings for pedestrians to cross, and then we're taking the speed limit in the downtown area down to 25 miles an hour. That was previously a concern out of our focus groups that they just didn't feel safe crossing. The signals at our test group or test process were put at flashing red, but because we were still dealing with 4 lanes, pedestrians were so far back from the intersection that they just didn't feel safe crossing, didn't feel like the drivers were acknowledging them. So as part of this new plan is we're narrowing it, so we'll have a 1 lane north, 1 lane south, angled parking, and then there'll be bump outs. We could not at this point put in hardscape bump outs or softscape where it has landscaping in them. But there's going to be delineators that will outline the location of bump outs. There'll be new signage that's put in there. So we'll be putting in decorative stop signs in and some other decorative signage to bring pedestrians closer to where the drivers are, but still at a safe distance back. So both the pedestrians and drivers can acknowledge each one another.
That sounds awesome. As someone who walks downtown a lot, it's going to be a great new future for that. Did you ever think that angled parking would be something that could be so contentious?
Well, Main Street has had a long history of different parking styles. So you go back into the 1940s, and I recently watched a kind of a hometown video that the Historic Society put together. And if you watch that video they have, you can see the angled parking in downtown. So we're really just kind of converting downtown back to the way it was. Were we concerned about angled parking and what people would think? Yes, there has been a long history, and people have a lot of different perspectives on what they feel comfortable and how they park in different areas. We put out a survey to find out how people wanted to proceed with Main Street, and we had a mixed opinion that came back. But even then, we still had more in favor of angled parking as opposed to the parallel parking that currently exists.
Yeah. Can you tell me how many new parking spaces were created because of switching to angled parking?
Sure. We started out with 123 parking spaces with this new layout, and we made a couple modifications here in the last couple of days that took away a couple spaces just to make it a little bit more roomy in a couple locations. So in the end, we've gone up to 162 parking spaces. We previously, and in that number, we now have 688 parking spaces where we previously only had 2.
Awesome. And what's the new speed limit going to be downtown?
Yeah, it's going to be 25 miles an hour. Again, part of that focus group meeting we were having and trying to feel or get feedback from the people that had responded. Everybody felt like the speed limit needed to be dropped. Also, because we're having cars back out now, we want to make sure both the drivers in the parking spaces and the oncoming traffic have more time to react to one another to avoid any conflicts.
I'm also wondering, when I know that FourWay Stops are a part of the plan, is that something that's going to happen right away, or is that something that's going to be phased in? And when will we switch to actual stop signs, or are we going to just do it via flashing lights?
The lights will remain flashing for 3 to 4 weeks just to make sure everybody kind of learns the new feel for downtown. And then once we feel comfortable with that, we'll end up bagging the lights and then getting a contract then to have the lights taken down, and that will also take the cantilever arms down as well.
In a lot of communities, there's sort of the overarching reality that pedestrians have the right of way. That's not something necessarily people are schooled on in this area. What is the signage that's going to happen at those mid-walk crosswalks for pedestrians to keep everybody safe?
Sure. So we're going to have signs on the outer edges of the right away there, or the lanes, and then we're also going to have placards that are in the middle of the intersection or in the middle of the roadway as well to remind drivers that if they see pedestrians, they need to acknowledge them and let them pass. Indiana's not as strong necessarily on laws that state that the pedestrian has full right-of-way and the driver has to stop. But once the pedestrian's out in the right-of-way, our understanding is that the driver should stop.
Have anything you'd like to add about how you think this downtown redesign is going to impact businesses downtown as well as our guests and customers?
Yeah, I think that one of the bigger things, and I want to give a shout out to the Goshen Redevelopment Commission who helped support this. And I talked earlier about trying to find the funding group for this. Goshen Redevelopment was able to provide about $550,000 towards this improvement, which is right around $970,000 to make the improvements we were able to make. And then also the Downtown Goshen Economic Improvement District, which is the group downtown that self-taxes themselves to make improvements. They're adding that, engineers in the city, we're good at making hardscapes. But then when it comes to making those special amenities that help it feel more hometown, that really is more difficult for us to fund. And so the Downtown Economic Improvement District and working with that group, they are going to be adding those additional amenities that are going to make it feel much more comfortable. Some of the things that they've already done is add some more greenery on the edges, the north end and south end. And then they have already started preparing for planters. So those bump outs that we weren't able to actually build up, they are going to be adding in creative and decorative planters and things like that that can really soften those edges in the downtown. So I think that it's a really good partnership between both the city and the businesses downtown. And I think people are really going to have a much different experience when downtown's back open here.
Yeah, collaboration is such a great part of what this city does, and
it is
a part of it. Yeah. Thank you so much for making time for us today, Dustin. It was great talking with you, and thank you for all the work you do for the city.
Thank you so much.